Listen to me. I need you to hear this with your heart, not just your ears. Too many of you are living like your struggle is the end of your story. You're crying, you're complaining, you're doubting yourself because of a season, because of a moment in time. But let me give you the permanent truth about temporary struggles. They don't last, but what they create inside you does. The pain you're going through right now is building you. The sleepless nights, the rejections, the failures, those things are shaping your character, building your resilience and preparing you for the blessing that's on the other side. You see, you think you're buried, but you're not buried. You're planted. And when you're planted, there's going to be a season when nobody sees your growth. Nobody sees your grind. But in the right season, you're going to break through the soil, and the same people who have overlooked you are going to witness your harvest. Don't confuse a chapter with the whole book. Your struggle is a chapter. It's not the conclusion. If you quit in the middle of your struggle, you will never live to see the victory that was waiting for you on the other side. I had struggles too, homeless, eating out of trash cans, failing in school. But those struggles were temporary. The discipline I gained, the hunger I developed, the mindset I built, that was permanent. So the next time life knocks you down, don't ask, oh, why me? Instead ask, oh, what is this teaching me? What is this preparing me for? Because if you survive the storm will make you stronger. And when you understand that truth, listen to me carefully, you'll never fear another struggle in your life. Because struggles are temporary, but the strength, the wisdom, the greatness they produce, that's permanent. Listen to me. What you're going through right now, that weight on your shoulders, that pain in your chest, that situation that feels like it will never end, it's not permanent, it's a season. And the problem with too many of us is that we take what was only supposed to be a season and make it our whole story. We let a few months of pain turn into a lifetime of bitterness. We let one moment of failure define decades of our life. But the truth I need you to hold on to is this. Struggles are seasons, not life sentences. Think about it. When winter comes, it feels like it's never going to end. The days are dark, the nights are cold, everything looks dead. But no matter how long the winter lasts, spring always shows up. The flowers always bloom again. The trees always get their leaves back, and the sun always rises earlier. That's how life works. What feels like a permanent storm right now is only a season. But if you treat that season like a life sentence, you'll never be ready to walk into your spring when it comes. Too many people have locked themselves inside the prison of their struggles. They've convinced themselves that because they failed once, their failures forever. They've convinced themselves that because they got rejected in a relationship, they're unlovable. They've convinced themselves that because they grew up poor, they'll always be broke. But that's a lie. That's a trick of the enemy. Struggles are not permanent. They are seasons, and every season comes with an expiration date. But here's the catch. How you respond in that season determines how long it lasts. Some people stay stuck in winter for years, not because the season hasn't changed, but because their mindset hasn't. They keep dressing for winter when spring has already arrived. They keep expecting rejection when opportunities are knocking. They keep living in fear when freedom is available. Listen to me, you can't control when the season starts, but you can control whether or not you're ready when it changes. I know what it feels like to be stuck. I know what it feels like to think, this is it, this is my life. Nothing is going to get better. When I was homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, eating out of trash cans, it didn't feel temporary. It felt like a death sentence. But what I didn't realize was that I was in a season that was shaping me. That season was teaching me hunger, discipline, humility. And because I didn't quit, because I kept pushing, I lived to see my spring. I lived to see the day when all that struggle became fuel for the fire inside me. Some of you are sitting in a struggle right now, and you don't see a way out. You're drowning in bills. You're hurting in relationships. You're exhausted from chasing a dream that doesn't seem to be working. But I need you to shift your perspective. Stop looking at your situation like a life sentence. Stop telling yourself, oh, this is forever. No, it's a season. You gotta believe that better days are coming. You gotta believe that this struggle has an expiration date. And listen, seasons don't just change automatically for you. You gotta prepare yourself for the shift. When winter is over, you don't keep walking outside in a heavy coat. Do you? You don't wear snow boots in the middle of summer. You adjust. And in life, when your season changes, you got to adjust too. You can't bring yesterday's pain into tomorrow's promise. You can't carry the mindset of struggle into the season of success. If you do, you'll miss what's already available to you. Some of you are still living like it's winter when the sun is shining on your life. You're still crying over people who left when God already sent new people to bless you. You're still worried about failures that happened years ago when new opportunities are standing at your door. It's not winter anymore. The season has shifted, but you got to shift with it. Don't get me wrong, struggles are real. Season pain are real. I'm not telling you to ignore your hurt or pretend it's not happening. I'm telling you to stop making it permanent. Look, don't tattoo temporary struggles onto your identity. Don't say, I am a failure, when what you mean is, I failed once. Don't say, I am broken, when what you mean is, I went through something that hurt me. Your language matters. The words you use determine whether your struggle stays a season or becomes a life sentence. There are people who have lived 20 years, stuck in a season that should have only lasted 6 months, all because they kept rehearsing the pain instead of learning the lesson. Every day they talk about who hurt them, who left, what didn't work. And the more they talk about it, the more real it feels until they've convinced themselves that this is just who they are. But hear me, what you go through is not who you are. What happens to you is not the same as what's permanent in you. Struggles pass, but identity lasts. So stop letting a temporary season define your permanent identity. If you really want to see your season shift, you've got to make a decision. You've got to say, I refuse to let this moment chain me for life. I refuse to let this season dictate my destiny. I refuse to let this storm convince me that the sun isn't coming back. Because it is. It always does. But you have to be willing to endure the winter so you can celebrate the spring. You have to be willing to push through the storm so you can dance in the sunlight. And let me tell you this, the people who win big in life aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who understand seasons. They're the ones who don't panic when winter comes because they know spring is on the way. They're the ones who don't give up in the dark because they know the morning always comes. They're the ones who use struggle as fuel, not as change. So I don't care what you're going through right now. I don't care how heavy it feels, how impossible it seems. You got to remind yourself every single day, this is not my final chapter. This is not my forever. This is a season, and seasons always change. And when you live with that truth deep in your soul, you can keep moving, keep fighting, keep grinding, because you know the struggle is temporary, but the strength you build is permanent. Listen to me carefully, because some of you right now think your life is over. You think you're done. You've been hit so hard that you don't even see a way to get back up. People counted you out. Life pushed you down. And when you look around, it feels like you've been buried. It feels like dirt has been thrown on top of you, like the weight of the world is crushing you, like nobody sees you, nobody hears you, nobody cares. But I need you to hear the truth tonight. You are not buried. You are planted. And there's a big difference. When you're buried, it's over. Burial means death. Burial means the end of the story. But when you're planted, it's not the end, it's the beginning. When you're planted, you go through the same process. You're covered in dirt. You're pushed down into darkness. You're unseen. You're uncomfortable. But that's not your death. That's your development. That's not the end. That's the setup for your growth. When you're planted, everything that looks like it's meant to destroy you is actually preparing you to rise. See, some of you can't tell the difference between being buried and being planted. You've confused pain with punishment, isolation with abandonment, struggle with failure. But what you're going through is not evidence that you're finished. It's evidence that something greater is about to grow out of you. A seed doesn't look like much when it's in the ground. No, it doesn't look like it has potential. It's small, it's hidden, it's vulnerable. But give it time, give it pressure, give it the right conditions, and it breaks through the soil. It becomes something so much bigger than what it started as. That's you, that's your life. I remember when I was homeless, when I was living in abandoned buildings, eating out of trash cans. Nobody looking for me, nobody believing in me. It felt like I was buried. It felt like I was worthless, like I was invisible. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I wasn't buried. I was planted. That season in the dark was shaping me, strengthening me, giving me a hunger and a discipline that I could not have learned any other way. And when the time came, I broke through the soil. I came out of the ground with power, with passion, with purpose. That's the thing about being planted. It doesn't look like growth at first. In fact, the first stage of growth for a seed happens underground where nobody can see it. The roots grow first. And that's where some of you are right now. You're in a stage where your roots are growing. Nobody sees your grind. Nobody sees your late nights. Nobody sees your pain. Nobody sees your tears. But those roots are digging deep. And the deeper the roots go, the higher the plant can rise when the time comes. That means the depth of your struggle is a reflection of the height of your future. The darker your season, the greater your harvest is going to be. You got to stop calling your struggle a burial and start calling it planning. Stop saying, I'm done, and start saying, I'm developing. Stop saying, this is the end, and start saying, and this is the beginning. Because what you speak over your life matters. If a seed could talk while it was under the soil, it might say, well, why did they throw dirt on me? Why am I stuck in the dark? Why am I alone? But if that seed understood the process, it would say, I'm not buried. I'm planted. I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm becoming. The pressure is part of the process. The darkness is part of the process. The darkness is part of the process. You cannot grow without going through it. You cannot reach your potential without being placed in an environment that forces you to stretch, to push, to break through. The concrete around you, the soil pressing on you, the weight sitting on your shoulders, it feels like it's crushing you, but it's actually shaping you. And let me tell you something, not everyone survives the soil. Not everyone breaks through because some seeds decide to give up before their time. Some seeds decide that the darkness is too much. Some seeds let the weight crush them instead of letting it develop them. Don't you dare give up before you break through. Don't you dare let temporary dirt convince you that your destiny is dead. I need you to think about the forest for a second. Every mighty oak tree you see started as a tiny acorn in the ground. Every flower that takes your breath away started as a seed buried in dirt. Every harvest that feeds families came from something that was once hidden, once covered, once planted. If nature has to go through that process to produce fruit, why do you think you're exempt? Why do you think greatness comes without planning, without pressure, without process? The problem with too many of us is that we want to shine without going through the soil. We want to be seen without going through the unseen. We want the spotlight without the dark room. But it doesn't work like that. You've got to embrace the planting. You've got to accept the season of darkness as preparation. Because when you come out, you won't just come out the same. You'll come out transformed. You may feel like you've been forgotten, but you haven't. You may feel like nobody sees you, but the one who planted you knows exactly where you are. And the reason he planted you was because he knew you had potential. Nobody plants a seed they don't believe in. Nobody buries something in the soil unless they expect a harvest. So if you're under pressure, if you're in darkness, if you feel buried, it's because there's something inside you worth planting. There's something inside you that's supposed to grow, supposed to rise, supposed to break through. I need you to shift your perspective. Every time life throws dirt on you, don't cry, don't complain, use it. That dirt is not to suffocate you. It's to cover you until you're ready. That dirt is fertilizer. That dirt is protection. That dirt is giving you the nutrients you need to grow. So instead of saying, oh, I me, start saying, thank you for planting me. Instead of saying, I can't take this, start saying this pressure is making me stronger. Instead of giving up in the soil, start preparing for your breakthrough. You are not buried. Buried means it's over. Buried means there's no hope. Buried means there's nothing left. But you are planted. Planted means purpose. Plan means growth. Plan means there's more inside you than the world has seen yet. Planning means your best days are still ahead. So don't you dare confuse this season with your ending. Don't you dare let the darkness make you forget the light that's coming. Don't you dare let the weight of the soil convince you that your story is over. You are planted, and in the right time, in the right season, with the right persistence, you will rise, you will break through. And when you do, the same people who thought you were buried are going to be shocked at what grew out of you. Some of you right now are running from the very thing that's trying to save your life. You're avoiding the one tool that's shaping you into who you're supposed to be. You think pain came to punish you. You think pain came to destroy you, to break you, to humiliate you. But hear me loud and clear. Pain is not your punishment. Pain is your teacher. And if you keep running from pain, you're going to miss the greatest lessons of your life. See, when we were kids, every teacher we had wasn't easy. Some of them pushed us. Some of them got on our nerves. Some of them gave us assignments we didn't want to do. But looking back, those were the teachers who helped us the most. And life is the same way. Pain is that teacher you don't like, the one that makes you uncomfortable, the one that forces you to do what you don't feel like doing. But if you let it, pain will teach you things no comfort ever could. The problem is, we live in a generation that avoids pain at all costs. You don't want to feel rejection. You don't want to feel failure. You don't want to feel discomfort. So what do? You quit early. You take shortcuts. You stay safe. But the truth is, every time you run from pain, you're also running from growth. Because growth doesn't happen on the couch. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth happens when you're stretched, when you're challenged, when you're pushed beyond your limits. And pain is the teacher that pushes you there. Pushes you there. I didn't become Eric Thomas because I was comfortable. I didn't become E.T. because life was easy. I became who I am because of pain. Homelessness taught me discipline. Rejection taught me resilience. Failure taught me how to stand back up when life knocked me down. And I would not be who I am today if pain hadn't been my teacher. You've got to stop treating pain like your enemy. Pain is not against you. It's for you. Pain is that coach that sees more in you than you see in yourself. Pain is that trainer that won't let you stop at 10 reps when it knows you got 15 in you. Pain is that voice in your ear saying, keep going, you're almost there. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like too much. Yes, you're tired. But when it's over, you're stronger. When it's over, you've grown. When it's over, you realize pain wasn't punishing you. It was preparing you. Think about it. When you go to the gym and lift weights, what's happening? You're tearing your muscles. You're literally creating small injuries in your body. That doesn't sound good, does it? But those small tears are exactly what allow your muscles to rebuild bigger and stronger. Without that pain, there is no progress. Without that tearing, there's no growth. And life works the same way. The struggles, the heartbreaks, the failures, they're tearing you down just enough so you can rebuild stronger. The difference between punishment and teaching is perspective. If you think life is punishing you, you'll quit. If you think life is teaching you, you'll endure. The same pain can make one person bitter and another person better. It's not the pain that decides, it's the mindset. If you can look at your pain and say, this isn't here to kill me, this is here to teach me, then you can take the lesson and use it to level up. I remember the first time I tried to pass the JED test. I failed. I was embarrassed. I was angry. I thought, why me? Haven't I been through enough already? But instead of letting that pain punish me, I let it teach me. I let it teach me. It taught me that I couldn't just walk in unprepared. It taught me discipline. It taught me to study. It taught me to respect the process. And when I finally passed, the victory meant more because of the pain I went through to get it. Some of you want to be successful, but you don't want to go through anything. You want the degree without the late nights of studying. You want the six-pack without the sore muscles. You want the business without the failures. But life doesn't work like that. Every dream has a price tag, and pain is the currency you pay with. If you're not willing to pay the cost, don't expect to hold the reward. Pain teaches you patience. Pain teaches you humility. Pain teaches you to value what you've earned. People who never go through anything don't appreciate anything. But when you cry for it, when you sacrifice for it, when you bled for it, when you struggle for it, you don't take it for granted. That's why pain is necessary. It makes you appreciate the success when it finally comes. I know some of you right now are in the middle of it. You're hurting so bad you can't see straight. You're asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Why now? Why, Sway? And I can't answer all those questions, but what I can tell you is this. Pain always has a lesson. There's always something you can learn if you don't give up in the middle of it. Maybe pain is teaching you endurance. Maybe pain is teaching you self-control. Maybe pain is teaching you to stop depending on other people and start depending on yourself. Whatever it is, don't miss the lesson. If you drop out of the class too early, you don't get the degree. And if you quit in the middle of your pain, you don't get the growth. You've got to stay in it long enough to learn what it came to teach you. That doesn't mean you enjoy it. And that doesn't mean you smile through it. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. But it does mean you keep showing up. It means you don't run from it. It means you let it do its work. And let me tell you something. Pain is the only teacher that speaks a language everybody understands. Success whispers, comfort distracts, but pain screams. Pain gets your attention. Pain forces you to stop and reflect. Pain forces you to ask, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to change? What's the lesson here? And if you're willing to listen, pain will point you in the right direction. Stop looking at pain like a curse. Stop looking at pain like life is against you. Start looking at pain like the classroom, where you're learning how to become your best self. Because when you change the way you see pain, you change the way you live through it. Every champion you admire, every success story you've ever heard, every person you look up to, they all had pain as a teacher. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school team at first. Oprah was fired from her first TV job. Steve Jobs got kicked out of his own company. These weren't punishments, they were lessons. Those moments taught them what they needed to become legends. So don't despise your pain. Don't curse your pain. Don't run from your pain. Embrace it, learn from it, and embrace it. Learn from it, grow from it. Because pain is not your enemy. Pain is not your punishment. Pain is your teacher. And the quicker you accept the lesson, the quicker you'll graduate into your next level. I know it hurts right now. I know you're tired. I know you're uncomfortable. You're in a place where it feels like life keeps pushing you, stretching you, testing you. And everything in you wants to stop. Everything in you wants to run. Everything in you wants to take the easy way out. But I need you to understand this truth deep down in your spirit. Temporary discomfort builds permanent strength. The pain you're in right now, the sacrifice you're making, the sweat you're pouring is not forever. It's not gonna last forever. But what it produces, what it builds inside of you, that is forever. The soreness will fade, the long nights will end, the season of struggle will pass, but the strength, the resilience, the character, the toughness you develop, that stays with you for life. I see too many people quit in the middle of discomfort because they mistake it for permanent pain. They think, this is too much. This is going to kill me. No, it's temporary. That's the trick. Discomfort shows up to see if you're willing to push past it. It shows up to test if you really want what you say you wanted. Anybody can grind when it's easy. Anybody can show up when it feels good. But the real test is, can you show up when it hurts? Can you show up when you don't feel like it? Can you show up when everything in you is screaming to quit? Because that's the moment when strength is built. Go to the gym and ask anybody who knows what they're doing. Growth doesn't happen on the first rep, when it's light, when it's easy. Growth happens on the last few reps, when it burns, when your arms are shaking, when your body is screaming to stop. That's the place where discomfort lives. And that's the exact place where permanent strength is born. You don't build muscle without resistance, and you don't build character without discomfort. Some of you are praying for strength, but then you're asking God to take away your discomfort, to take away your discomfort. Do you know what you're asking? You're asking for the result without the process. You're asking for muscles without the weights. You're asking for growth without the grind. It doesn't work that way. If you want permanent strength, you've got to be willing to go through temporary discomfort. Think about a diamond. A diamond isn't born shining. It doesn't just appear polished and beautiful. A diamond starts as cold, dark, dirty, unimpressive. And it only becomes a diamond after years and years of pressure and heat. Without that discomfort, without that environment that looks unbearable, cold never transforms. And the same is true for you. You can stay comfortable and remain the same, or you can endure the pressure and the heat and become the diamond you were created to be. When I was homeless, that was discomfort. When I was eating out of trash cans, that was discomfort. When I was failing school, that was discomfort. But all of it was temporary. And in the process of going through it, I developed permanent strength. I learned how to survive. I learned how to push. I learned how to fight. I learned how to keep going when everything around me was falling apart. And those lessons have stayed with me for life. That's why I can stand on this stage today with fire in my voice, with passion in my heart. Because I went through temporary discomfort that gave me permanent strength. Some of you are so afraid of discomfort that you're robbing yourself of the strength you need. You quit when it gets hard. You back down when it gets heavy. You run when it gets uncomfortable. But what you don't realize is that every time you avoid discomfort, you're also avoiding growth. Every time you stay comfortable, you stay the same. And I don't know about you, but I didn't come this far to stay the same. I didn't wake up this morning to be average. I didn't grind this hard to settle for comfort. You got to train yourself to embrace the uncomfortable. Get used to being stretched. Get used to being strained. Get used to being sore. Because that's the environment where transformation takes place. That's where you find out who you really are. That's where you find out how much you can really take. And when you push past that point, when you go further than you thought you could go, you tap into a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. It's like running. The first mile is uncomfortable. Your lungs are burning, your legs are heavy, your mind is telling you to stop. But if you push through, if you keep going, something happens. You hit what they call a runner's high. Your body adjusts, your breathing finds a rhythm, and suddenly you can go further than you thought. That strength was always in you. But it was the discomfort that unlocked it. That's life. That's your dream. That's your purpose. You think you can't do it. You think you can't handle it. But if you push through the temporary discomfort, you'll find a strength you didn't know you had. And once you find it, nobody can take it away. That's permanent. That's yours for life. You have to stop asking for easy. Easy doesn't change you. Easy doesn't grow you. Easy doesn't prepare you for the battles ahead. Discomfort is the training ground for greatness. Discomfort is the furnace where champions are forged. And if you can learn to embrace it instead of running from it, you'll discover that discomfort is not your enemy, it's your ally. I need you to remember something. Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. That moment when you stop, when you give up, when you walk away because it was uncomfortable, that regret stays with you. But if you endure, if you push through, if you keep grinding despite the discomfort, the strength you gain stays with you forever. That's the trade. That's the exchange. You trade a little temporary pain for a lifetime of power. So the next time you feel like quitting, the next time you feel like the weight is too heavy, the next time you feel like the dream is too far, remind yourself, this is temporary. The struggle, the sacrifice, the soreness, the tears, it's all temporary. But the strength, the discipline, the resilience, the wisdom is permanent, and that's worth it. Don't run from discomfort. Don't fear it. Don't despise. Embrace it. Because every second spent in temporary discomfort is building a foundation of permanent strength that no one can ever take from you. People quit too early. That's the truth. People walk away in the middle of the story because they confuse the chapter they're in with the ending. I need you to hear me right now. The pain you're going through is not the end. The struggle you're in right now is not the final destination. It's a scene. It's a chapter. It's a part of the process. But too many of you are stopping, giving up, and throwing away your potential before the ink has even dried on your victory. Don't you dare quit in the middle of your story. I don't care what you're going through. Divorce, bankruptcy, failing in school, business falling apart, family issues, health struggles. You cannot stop here. This is not the end. You don't stop in the storm. You don't stop in the valley. You keep moving. Because if you quit here, you'll never know how the story could have ended. And I promise you, there's greatness on the other side of your grind. Look, every hero you admire, every successful person you look up to, they had a moment when they could have quit. They had chapters that were ugly, painful, and humiliating. But they didn't stop. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. He could have quit in that chapter. Oprah got fired from her first job in TV. She could have quit in that chapter. Steve Jobs got fired from the company he built. He could have quit in that chapter. I got kicked out of school, was homeless, eating out of trash cans. I could have quit in that chapter. But we didn't stop there. We didn't stop there. We didn't allow the middle of the story to define the end. You see, when you're reading a book, you don't close it after one sad chapter. You don't give up on the whole story because one section made you cry. No, you keep reading because you know the story isn't over until the author says it's over. And life is the same way. And life is the same way. If you're still breathing, if your heart is still beating, then your story isn't done. So stop living like the ending has already been written. Stop living like defeat is permanent. Your next chapter could be the breakthrough, the success, the victory you've been waiting for. but you'll never see it if you quit now. Let me make this plain. Some of you are living in chapter 5, and it's full of pain, disappointment, and frustration. But if you keep going, chapter 10 is going to make sense of everything. Chapter 10 is going to explain why you had to go through what you went through. What's true? But if you close the book at chapter 5, if you put the pen down, if you stop writing, then you'll never know what was waiting in chapter 10. Don't you quit in the middle. The reason so many people fail is not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have ability, but because they gave up too soon. They quit before they saw the fruit of their labor. They quit when it got hard. And I'm telling you, hard is part of the story. You don't get strong without resistance. You don't get diamonds without pressure. You don't get a masterpiece without going through a mess. Struggle is the setup for strength, but you have to endure it long enough to see what it produces. I remember when I was living on the streets. I was dirty, I was hungry, I was hopeless. And I could have said, oh, this is my story. This is my ending, but something inside me refused to let that be the final chapter. Something inside me said that this is just a part of the journey. And I fought, I pushed, I studied, I grinded, I cried, and I wrote new chapters. And now I'm standing here, not because I didn't struggle, but because I didn't quit. You can do the same thing. But here's the problem. You keep letting your emotions dictate your decisions. You're making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. You're letting the pain of this chapter convince you that the book is over. Stop it. Stop letting temporary struggles write permanent endings. Stop letting the devil convince you that your setback is your conclusion. No, your setback is just a setup for your comeback. But you have to turn the page. Some of you need to understand that the most powerful part of your story will come from the struggle you're in right now. The very thing you hate, the very thing you wish you could erase, is the same thing that's going to inspire others when you come out of it. Nobody is inspired by a perfect story. People are inspired by comebacks. People are moved by resilience. People are motivated by the person who fell 7 times but got up 8. That's why you can't quit now, because somebody's breakthrough is tied to your survival. Somebody's inspiration is connected to your persistence. Think about it. When you watch a movie, the part that makes you cheer isn't when everything is easy. It's when the hero is down, when everything looks hopeless, when it seems like the villain has won, but then the hero refuses to give up. That's what makes the story powerful. That's what makes the victory meaningful. Your life is no different. You don't get to the glory without going through the grind. You don't get to the promise without walking through the pain. The middle is supposed to be hard. That's why most people don't finish. That's why most people don't reach greatness, because the middle is the test. The middle is where you find out if you're serious, if you're committed, if you're willing to bleed for what you say you want. The middle is where discipline matters more than desire. Everybody desires success in the beginning, and everybody celebrates in the end. But the middle is where champions are made. You can't be weak in the middle. You can't be soft in the middle. You can't be casual in the middle. You got to be relentless. You got to be relentless. You got to wake up and grind, even when you don't feel like it. You got to believe even when the evidence says otherwise. You've got to trust the process even when you don't understand it, because the middle is where faith is tested, and the middle is where faith grows. Stop quitting halfway. Stop letting comfort zones steal your destiny. Stop letting fear write your story. You've got to get back up. You've got to fight through. You got to say to yourself, this is not the end. My ending will not be written by pain. It will be written by purpose. That's to be your mindset. Now, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm not telling you it's going to happen overnight. I'm telling you it's worth it. I'm telling you the reward is bigger than the struggle. I'm telling you the victory will make the pain make sense. But you'll never taste that victory if you quit now. So I need you to keep writing. I need you to keep turning the page. I need you to believe that the author of your story has something greater in store than what you're experiencing right now. Don't stop in the valley. Don't quit in the fire. Don't give up in the storm. Because this is just the middle, and the middle is not the end. There will come moments in life where everything you planned, everything you expected, and everything you dreamed of seems to fall apart right before your eyes. The struggle feels so overwhelming that you begin to question whether you were ever meant to succeed, whether you were ever built for greatness, or whether you should simply give up. But here's the truth. Your struggles are not permanent. They may look massive in the moment, they may seem like they will last forever, but they are only temporary tests. And the way you handle them determines the story you will write with your life. You cannot allow a temporary storm to make you doubt the permanent sunshine that is waiting on the other side. Struggles come and go, but the growth, strength, and resilience you develop in those seasons, those things last forever. That is the permanent truth about temporary struggles. Think about the times you faced challenges in your own life. Maybe it was financial hardship where the bills kept piling up and you didn't know how you would get through the month. Maybe it was academic failure where no matter how hard you studied, the results just didn't seem to reflect your effort. Maybe it was heartbreak where someone you trusted walked out of your life and left you with wounds you thought would never heal. In those moments, it felt like the end of the road. You thought life had closed its doors on you forever. But look at you now. You're still standing. The pain didn't last forever. You made it through. And if you're honest with yourself, you became stronger because of it. What once felt permanent was really just a passing chapter in a much bigger story. That's why you must never confuse a season of pain with the entirety of your life. The storm is temporary, but what you learn from it becomes permanent. See, the real challenge is not whether the struggle exists. It's what the struggle produces in you. Most people want ease, comfort, and smooth roads, but greatness is never born from ease. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Muscles only grow when they are torn down and rebuilt stronger. Trees only grow deep roots when they face storms. And you, my friend, will only reach the highest version of yourself when you stop running from the struggle and embrace it as the training ground for greatness. Every obstacle you face is a workout for your character. Every failure you endure is resistance training for your resilience. Every heartbreak, every setback, every rejection is life's way of shaping you into the kind of person who can handle the success you're praying for. If success came without struggle, it would crush you. But because of the struggle, you'll be able to carry it when it finally arrives. One of the biggest lies people believe is that struggle means they are failing. No, struggle means you are in the process of becoming. Struggle means you're alive. You're pushing, you're growing. If you're not struggling, you're not stretching yourself. If you're not struggling, you're not aiming for anything beyond the ordinary. Struggle is the evidence that you're fighting for something greater than where you are. And the fact that you're struggling doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're stronger than most because you're willing to keep moving when it would be easier to quit. That's what separates champions from everyone else. Champions don't avoid the struggle. They endure it. They don't let temporary pain make them forget the permanent promise of their purpose. Sometimes the problem isn't the struggle itself. It's the way we view it. Too many of us see struggle as punishment when it's really preparation. You think the universe, God, or life itself is against you, but in reality, it's preparing you for something greater. It's teaching you discipline, patience, and endurance. Think about athletes. They don't get stronger by sitting on the couch. They get stronger by enduring grueling workout, strict diets, and constant practice. Why? Because the bigger the stage and the heavier the weight, the harder the fight, the more prepared they must be. The same is true for your life. The bigger your purpose, the greater the struggle. The higher your call and the harder the process. You're not being punished, you're being prepared for the platform that's waiting for you. Let's be real. Struggles hurt, pain is real. Nights of crying are real. Feelings of hopelessness are real. I'm not here to minimize your pain because the tears you've cried are valid. But here's what I want you to remember. The fact that you're in pain today does not mean you'll be in pain forever. Time and resilience heal. That heartbreak you thought you'd never get over. One day, you'll look back and see how it made you wiser. That failure you thought ended your career, one day you'll see how it redirected you to a better opportunity. That season of financial struggle you thought would ruin you, one day you'll see how it taught you the value of persistence and hustle. Nothing lasts forever, not even pain. And when the pain leaves, it leaves behind strength, lessons, and a version of you that can only be born through struggle. That's why you can't quit. You can't stop in the middle of the storm. Too many people give up when things get hard, not realizing they were just one push away from breakthrough. They walk away from their dreams because of a temporary delay. They settle for less because the journey required more than they expected. Don't be that person. Don't let temporary pain rob you of permanent greatness. If you give up now, you'll never know what was waiting for you on the other side. But if you keep pushing, if you keep grinding, if you keep believing even when it doesn't make sense, you'll discover that the struggle was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you, to mold you, and to equip you for the blessings you've been praying for. When you look at people who've achieved greatness, you'll notice a common thread. They all went through seasons of intense struggle. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection after rejection before becoming one of the most influential women in the world. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team before becoming the greatest to ever play the game. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before becoming a symbol of freedom and leadership. These people are remembered not because they avoided struggle, but because they endured it. Their struggles were temporary. The impact they made is permanent. And the same can be true for you if you refuse to let temporary battles convince you to surrender. I want you to remember this. Storms don't last. Pain doesn't last. Failure doesn't last. But your purpose does. Your character does. The lessons you learn do, and the legacy you build does. When the storm passes, and it will, you'll be left with wisdom, resilience, and a testimony that will inspire others. That's the permanent truth about temporary struggles. Don't let what you're going through now blind you to where you're going. Your struggle is not the end of your story. It's simply a chapter. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep believing, because the best part of your story is still being written. Don't despise it. Don't let it break you. Let it build you, because this is not the end. It's not permanent. It's a chapter, not the whole story. Your best days are still ahead, and the struggle you're facing right now is the bridge that's going to take you there. So take a deep breath. Remind yourself, this too shall pass. Remind yourself, I've been through worse and I survived. Remind yourself, I am stronger than I feel right now, because the truth is you are. You are stronger, tougher, and more resilient than you give yourself credit for. Don't waste the struggle. Now, don't let it be just pain. Turn it into power. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Let it transform you. Because one day, you're going to stand on the other side and realize the struggle was never your enemy. It was your greatest ally in disguise. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's easy to forget that storms don't last forever. When the rain is pouring, the thunder is loud, and the sky looks darker than it ever has, you start to believe maybe this is just how life is now: wet, cold, miserable. But here's the truth. No storm has ever lasted forever, and neither will yours. The darkest nights eventually give way to dawn, the longest winters are followed by spring, and the harshest seasons eventually shift into something new. What you're facing right now, no matter how crushing it feels, is not the end of your story. It's just a chapter, and chapters always turn. And the danger is that when you're stuck in struggle, your mind tricks you into thinking this moment defines your entire existence. That's why people give up in the middle of the fight. They think the pain is permanent. The loneliness is permanent. The disappointment is permanent. They confuse a season with a lifetime. But if you can remind yourself right in the middle of your suffering that this is temporary, you'll be able to hold on longer than you thought possible. Temporary pain is just that, temporary. But the strength, wisdom, and resilience you gain by walking through it will last a lifetime. Think about the people you admire most. Every single one of them has scars. They walk through betrayal, heartbreak, failure, poverty, sickness, or loneliness. And yet they stand tall, not because they avoided struggles, but because they endured them. What looked like the end of their story at one point was really just the middle. Their storms ended, the clouds cleared, and they walked into brighter days. The very same will happen for you, but only if you refuse to quit in the middle of the storm. The people who lose are not the ones who had the toughest battles. They're the ones who gave up too soon. I know it's not easy. When you're in pain, every second feels like an eternity. The days drag on, the nights feel endless, and you can't see any sign of relief. But this is where faith comes in. Faith that the sun will rise again. Faith that no season lasts forever. Faith that there's more ahead than what you're experiencing right now. When you can cling to that faith, you start to see your struggle differently. Instead of asking, oh, why me? You start asking, oh, what can I learn from this? Instead of seeing your pain as punishment, you begin to see it as preparation. And let me tell you, nothing you go through is wasted. Every tear, every sleepless night, every heartbreak, every failure, it all serves a purpose. It may not make sense now, but down the line, you'll look back and realize your struggle shaped you in ways comfort never could. Struggle forces you to grow, forces you to dig deep, forces you to discover parts of yourself you didn't know existed. Comfort makes you soft. Struggle makes you strong. Struggle makes you strong. Comfort lets you coast. Struggle makes you climb, and though climbing is exhausting, it takes you to heights you never would have reached otherwise. The mistake we make is thinking we should avoid struggle at all costs. But if you never face resistance, you never build strength. If you never encounter darkness, you never appreciate the light. If you never failed, you never know the sweetness of victory. Struggle is not the enemy. Struggle is the forge that makes you who you're meant to be. What you're enduring right now is not designed to break you. It's designed to build you. Temporary struggle, permanent growth. Temporary pain, permanent strength. Temporary loss, permanent perspective. So when life feels unbearable, remind yourself, this too shall pass. You've made it through every hard day of your life so far. You're batting 1,000. That means you're stronger than you realize, more capable than you think, and more resilient than you give yourself credit for. Don't let a temporary season convince you to make a permanent decision. Too many people end the fight when victory was just one more round away. Too many people quit climbing when the peak was just beyond the next ridge. Too many people lose hope right before the breakthrough. Don't be one of them. Hold on, because relief is closer than it feels, ain't closer than it feels. If you could see your future self standing in strength and joy on the other side of this storm, you know this struggle was worth it. You'd understand that the tears you're crying today will water the seeds of tomorrow's harvest. You'd see that your pain was not in vain, but necessary for your purpose. And though you can't see that future self right now, you got to trust that they're waiting for you. Every step you take through this temporary darkness is a step toward that brighter version of yourself. Life is a series of seasons, some sweet, some bitter, but none of them last forever. Don't mistake the cold of winter for the absence of spring. Don't mistake the darkness of night for the end of the story. And don't mistake the weight of your struggle for a permanent state of being. You are passing through. You are being refined. You are being prepared. And when the storm clears, and it will clear, you will rise stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than ever before. Struggles often feel like they're never going to end. When you're in the middle of them, it's like being stuck in the darkest part of the tunnel, and every step forward feels heavier than the last. But here's the thing. Struggles, no matter how overwhelming they seem, are temporary. What's permanent is what they teach you, how they shape you, and the version of yourself that emerges when the dust settles. Pain doesn't last forever, but the strength you build in that pain will. Every hardship you face is shaping your character, teaching you patience, teaching you resilience, teaching you to dig deeper when you feel like you got nothing left. And while the storm feels like it's consuming you right now, it's also preparing you for the sunshine that's on the other side. The truth is, the storm isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to develop you. Think about it like this. Nobody grows in comfort. Nobody becomes great when everything is smooth. The champions you look up to didn't become who they are because life was easy. They became who they are because they faced resistance, opposition, and pain, and they didn't quit. They understood that the struggle was temporary, but the lesson and the reward were forever. When you go through temporary struggles, you're building a permanent foundation that can never be taken away from you. The wisdom you gain, the courage you discover, the grit you develop, that's yours for life. Struggles are the tuition you pay for growth. And just like school doesn't last forever, the pain you feel now has an expiration date too. The problem is, too many of us let temporary struggles trick us into believing they're permanent. You face failure once, and you tell yourself you're not good enough. You go through heartbreak, and you convince yourself love isn't for you. You go through financial struggles, and you believe success is out of your reach. But those are lies. Those are temporary conditions. They're moments in time, not definitions of who you are. Just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you're broke today doesn't mean you'll be broke forever. Just because you're hurting now doesn't mean you'll hurt forever. You've got to stop letting temporary struggles write your permanent story. What you need to understand is that the pain you're in today is giving birth to a new you tomorrow. Every sleepless night, every disappointment, every setback is a seed. And when that seed is watered with patience, consistency, and faith, it grows into strength. And once that strength takes root, no one can take it away from you. That's the permanent truth about temporary struggles. They don't break you, they build you. They carve out a stronger, wiser, and tougher version of you. You don't get diamonds without pressure. You don't get strong muscles without resistance. And you don't get greatness without struggle. But here's where it gets tough. In the middle of the struggle, your mind will play tricks on you. It will tell you to quit, to settle, to walk away. That's why so many people never make it to the other side of their struggles. They give up in the middle. They stop when it hurts, not realizing that breakthrough was just one more push away. If you can hold on just a little longer, if you can keep showing up even when you don't feel like it, if you can believe in the promise of tomorrow even when today looks dark, you'll realize that what you're going through was just temporary. The pain fades, but the pride of not quitting lasts forever. Think back on your life for a moment. How many times did you think you couldn't make it? Yeah, here you are. How many times did you feel like the pain was too heavy? Yeah, you carried it. That's proof. Proof that your struggles didn't break you. They built you. Proof that the things you thought were going to end you only made you stronger. That's why you got to keep going. Because if you stop now, you'll never see the beauty that's waiting on the other side. Every temporary struggle you endure is carving out the permanent truth that you are tougher than you think, braver than you believe, and stronger than you ever imagined. And here's the reality. Life isn't about avoiding struggles, it's about outlasting them. You can't control when storms come, but you can control whether you stand or collapse when they do. Don't confuse the season you're in with the story of your life. A bad chapter doesn't mean a bad ending. Struggles are just chapters, not the whole book. The permanent truth is that your story is still being written. And if you keep going, the best pages are still ahead. So when you're in the middle of pain, remind yourself, this too shall pass. The tears will dry, the wound will heal, the storm will clear. And when it does, you'll look back and realize the struggle didn't destroy you. It made you. It made you wiser, stronger, and more equipped for what's next. The scars you carry aren't signs of weakness. They're proof that you survived. And survival isn't temporary. It's permanent. Isn't temporary. That's permanent. Every time you endure, every time you refuse to give up, you're building a permanent legacy. The temporary struggles you go through are shaping a permanent truth that will inspire others long after the struggle is forgotten. The pain fades, but the story of how you overcame will last forever. That's the truth about struggles. They don't last, but the strength, wisdom, and resilience they give you do. And that, right there, is the permanent truth about temporary struggles. When you're in the middle of a struggle, it feels like the world is collapsing on your shoulders. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even hit the ground, that weight is there waiting for you. The bills don't stop. The disappointments don't pause. The critics don't disappear. And the pain doesn't magically heal overnight. It's there, and it can feel permanent. But here's the truth. It's not permanent. Struggles are temporary. But the lessons you learn, the growth you gain, the character you develop through them, that's permanent. You may feel like what you're facing today is going to last forever, but it won't. The pain will pass, but the strength you gain will remain. And that's why you can't give up in the middle of it. That's why you can't throw in the towel when life gets tough. Because one day you're going to look back at this moment and realize it was building you for something greater. Think about it like this. Storms don't last forever. You've never seen a storm that just parks itself above a city and says, I'm not leaving. Eventually the clouds move, the rain stops, the sun comes out. Your struggles work the same way. They may linger for a season. They may shake you for a moment. They may even make you cry in the dark when no one's watching. But sooner or later they pass. What stays with you is the wisdom you gained in the rain. What stays with you is the endurance you built while fighting through the wind. What stays with you is the proof that you can survive more than you thought you could. The problem is, most people never stick around long enough to see the sunshine again. They quit in the storm. They surrender when the struggle gets tough. And because of that, they never taste the sweetness that comes after the bitterness. When you're in pain, you got two choices. You can surrender to it, or you can grow from it. Struggles don't come to destroy you, they come to shape you. Life doesn't put you in hard situations because it wants to break you. but because it wants to reveal you. You don't even know how strong you are until you're forced to fight for something. You don't know how much endurance you have until you're asked to keep going everything in you wants to stop. And here's what's crazy. You're not even fighting the struggle itself, you're fighting the temptation to give up. Because the hardest battle is never outside of you. It's always inside of you. The real enemy is not the situation. It's the voice in your head that said, this is too much. I can't handle this. I should just quit. That's the voice you got to silence because it's lying to you. It's lying to you. And let me be clear. Struggles are not a sign that you're weak. They're a sign that you're growing. If everything in your life was easy, if you never had setbacks, if you never had disappointments, you would never develop the strength to handle the big blessings you're praying for. Struggles are training grounds. They're where you learn how to keep your faith when your plans fall apart. They're where you learn how to believe in yourself when nobody else does. They're where you learn to fight for your dream when reality is telling you it's impossible. Every champion you've ever admired was once someone who went through struggles that looked impossible, but they didn't let those struggles define them. They let them refine them. I know some of you are thinking, oh, but you don't understand how bad it is for me. You don't know the pain I'm carrying. You don't know how many times I've tried and failed. And you're right, I don't know your story in detail. But what I do know is this. The fact that you're still here means you still have fight left. The fact that you woke up this morning means the story isn't finished yet. And that means you have another chance to push forward. Don't confuse your current chapter with your whole book. Just because you're in the middle of a dark season doesn't mean your life is destined to stay there. Struggles are temporary, but the resilience you build is forever. Think about the last time you went through something you thought was going to crush you. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was losing a job. Maybe it was getting rejected. In that moment, it felt unbearable. But look at you now. You survived it, and you're stronger because of it. At the time, it felt like the end of the world. But now it's just a story you tell about how you got through. That's how struggles work. They feel eternal in the moment. But in hindsight, they're just stepping stones. The pain of the moment eventually becomes the strength of the memory. I want you to imagine your struggle as a classroom. The teacher is life, and the lessons are disguised as problems. If you skip class, you miss the lesson. If you drop out, you never graduate to the next level. But if you stay, if you endure, if you pay attention, you get wisdom that you carry with you forever. The struggles are temporary, but the diploma of resilience, courage, and perseverance is permanent. Too many people want the blessing without the lesson. They want the success without the struggle. But it doesn't work like that. The struggle is the price of admission to greatness. And here's what you have to remember. Every time you overcome a struggle, you're proving to yourself that you're capable more. Struggles stretch you. They expand your capacity. They make you realize that what you thought was your limit was really just the edge of your comfort zone. Once you push past it, you discover new levels of strength, new levels of creativity, new levels of grit. And the more you face struggles, the more unshakable you become. That's why people who've been through the toughest battles often carry the deepest wisdom. They know that pain doesn't last forever, but the growth it produces does. You may be crying now, but those tears are watering the seeds of your breakthrough. You may be struggling now, but that struggle is building the muscle you'll need for the next season. You may be tired now, but that exhaustion is proof that you're fighting for something that matters. Struggles are temporary. They are chapters, not the whole book. They are seasons, not the entire story. But what they leave behind, the faith, the character, the wisdom, that's what lasts forever. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself, this is not permanent. The pain is not permanent. The struggle is not permanent. The storm is not permanent. But what will remain permanent is who you become through it. One day you'll stand on the other side and thank this struggle for shaping you into the person you were meant to be. That's the permanent truth about temporary struggles.